Hello everyone! Today I want to discuss a topic that has been worrying me quite a bit for a long time. If you like consuming content about fiction, you've probably seen such things as writing comparisons. In case you are not aware of what writing comparisons are, it's kinda like power scaling debates, but instead of comparing power, people compare fictional stories and characters and try to define what series or character is better written. For comparing, they usually use these writing categories. So, the purpose of today's video is to explain why I dislike this tendency and what I find wrong about it. To make myself clear, I'm gonna highlight what I consider to be the main problems of this tendency. And the first problem is comparison of the incomparable. So the first problem comes when you just look and try to analyze the categories by themselves. Look for example on things like depth and complexity. I understand what these words mean, but I can't really understand how you can compare two different series relying on these terms. I've always thought of depth and complexity as abstract things that you define for yourself while going deep into certain stories. I can't really create a comparison based on these terms because I feel like it's more about your own perception and perspective of the story than objective interpretation. And the same could be said about almost any other category. Like, what is overall themes and main theme? How do they compare these terms? Is it about quality or quantity or about both? Also, I don't think that main theme is a valid category, because some stories have multiple themes and all of them are equally important to the story. I think if we intend to compare themes, it should be more like comparison of thematic structure and framework. So I think you get the tendency with this one. They're understandable terms, but when you try to think about comparing them, you can put everything together and build logical structure. And it's one of my biggest issues with writing comparisons. I think that writing and fiction just don't work that way. And the next thing is when people compare two different stories from different forms of storytelling. For example, I've seen how people compare stories from books with stories from manga and try to define which one is objectively better. That even sounds absurd to me because these two are absolutely different. They use different methodics to tell the story. Obviously, books will have better dialogues and better prose, but manga gives you visual presentation and visual narrative. They rely on different things, so you can't really compare these two. And the same thing with other forms of media. You can compare two different forms of storytelling and define which one is objectively better, because they all create unique experiences, different one from another. So you can't objectively define which one is better. You can only understand which one is better for you and which one resonates with you more. But it's obviously subjective, not objective.